Hello there. Talk about burning bridges. Andrew Neil has just flame-throwered what was left of the rope pontoon between himself and GB News. As per usual, please like, subscribe and comment below. And when subscribing, please do press that little bell, but also select the all option, or you won't get any notifications when I publish a new video. If you haven't seen it yet, Andrew Neil has vowed never to appear on GB News again after claiming it smeared him through the press. There had already been loads of acrimony building up between Neil and GB News, but there did appear to be an exit deal resolution when Andrew Neil appeared on a Farage segment of the show. And being an ardent watcher myself, I breathed a sigh of relief, as GB News mostly gave me a lower blood pressure response than the BBC had. And it also gives really good coverage of the channel crossing problems, something the others ignore. But I just wish it had been a bit more balanced when following the whole government narrative on the pandemic. But the Neil GB News spat all blew up again, and in the end, Neil tweeted, "After weeks of talks with GB News resulting in exit settlement, the channel then broke it by briefing Mail on Sunday with load of smears and lies, then unilaterally cancelling exit deal, leaving me free to do, say whatever I want, plus never again be on GB News. Couldn't be happier." And also saying on Question Time that he was in a minority of one where the future direction of the channel had been concerned. And all this instantly polarised GB News viewers, with some taking the GB News side and others lining up behind Neil. And during this time, Australia media tycoon Rupert Murdoch announced the formation of Talk TV. And it all got very interesting, with many of those viewers who had pinned their hopes of balanced reporting on GB News either walking away from it or slavishly backing the channel, football fan style. And ne'er the twain would meet, and no balance was allowed. And that was made apparent to me when I did a recent video on the impact that Talk TV could have on the news space once it comes online next year. Now, just to be clear, I wanted, and I still want, GB News to succeed. But the problem it has is that the intervention of Talk TV will inevitably gobble up some of GB News's market share. And that market share might be very thin to start with. And I'm sure the numbers are nowhere close to Coronation Street versus EastEnders. And Murdoch has a bottomless chasm of cash and experience to bring to bear on this. And both GB News and Talk TV are bound by the same regulator, Ofcom. And the one with the deepest pockets will be the one able to sail closest to the legal wind where content is concerned. Not only that, it's eyeballs on screens that will command the income from advertisers, and that will dictate whether or not a channel keeps running. Now, had GB News remained the only player on their side of the park, then they would have had the time and the space to make a real success of it, Andrew Neil or no Andrew Neil. But the announcement of Talk TV removes that time element. And whether you like it or not, the addition of Piers Morgan on Talk TV will pull in a large audience for them, an audience of those that both love him and hate him. Remember that ITV lost 100,000 viewers and £200 million worth of market share when he went. Where do you think that audience will now go? It doesn't matter that I never watch Piers Morgan myself, but I always watch Andrew Neil and Nigel Farage when I can. That's a personal thing. I won't be watching Talk TV because Piers Morgan will be on it, but others will watch it. You have to look beyond your personal wishes when considering stuff like this. And also consider that Rupert Murdoch was quite content to let the opposition, GB News, have free rein while he sat back and monitored their progress. And having seen it, he thinks there's an opening for him, and probably thinks he can produce a slicker offering than GB News can. He's a competitor, not a sharer, so he's made his move accordingly. But he's also decided to move in smoothly and under control by soft launching Talk TV using the Talk Radio TV app, so he can monitor it as it expands and rectify gremlins as they appear. And as I said, this game is all about the number of eyeballs on screens in what could be a thin news market, and that's where my worries lay regarding GB News. And if the money gets tight, what will they do? Go down a path that marginalises the station? That's the danger. The UK public is generally centre ground, and if you want to be right of centre, then be that. But go too far to the right and your market thins very rapidly. It's a bell curve. And then there's the ever-present Ofcom sitting in the wings. You cannot ignore them. I would like to see GB News getting some more commentators like Nigel Farage and Neil Oliver on board. But the thing here is, I have to wonder how many of those exist out there, because the mainstream media has been so lefty over the last few decades that only lefties got the training and exposure on the big TV stage to get anywhere. Either that or you can't identify them because they've had to disguise their true thoughts to safeguard their careers. How many journos came out in support of Brexit, for example? And those that you can identify probably already work for Murdoch's News UK network or for GB News. There's no getting away from it. GB News will have it tough when Talk TV gets going. And were I to say GB News is perfect and under no threat at all, I would be doing you a great disservice. In a perfect world, GB News would not be constrained by regulators. And oh boy, do I wish I wasn't constrained too. But this is the hand we've been dealt with, and we must make the most of what we have. So, what's all this about the US White House media team citing Boris Johnson as the reason for herding journalists out of the Oval Office before they could ask Joe Biden some pressing questions? But before I get onto that, I just want to say a massive thank you to all my Super Thanks, Patreon and PayPal supporters, as well as those that do buy a mug with my mug on it. Links in the descriptions box below. You really do help me keep this channel going. The White House media staffers are seemingly trying to put the blame on Boris Johnson for having to elbow journalists out of the Oval Office before the President and PM's press conference had actually ended. So the question is, when is a free press not free to ask questions? And the answer is, when they're US journalists anywhere within hailing distance of bumbling Joe Biden. And this incident led to official complaints to the White House from the US press saying that their UK counterparts had been allowed to ask Boris Johnson questions, but they weren't allowed to tackle their own president. And the response from the White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki was that Boris hadn't informed them that he would be taking questions. He called on individuals from his press corps without alerting us to that intention in advance, Psaki said. Why did he have to tell her or ask her? And here's me thinking that the whole point of press conferences and having journalists there waiting to ask questions is to answer the questions. But when looking at that press conference, you realise the White House press team aides, known as wranglers, as in those that herd livestock on a ranch, the wranglers stepped in and pushed the press out when one US journalist started shouting questions about the migrant crisis on their border with Mexico. Sounds like the White House didn't want people in the UK latching on to that one. Or is it that they don't want the US public to latch on to their president being a bit of a mental lame duck? Well, that cat is probably well out of the bag, so maybe they're thinking that if they can somehow mask the obvious, then everyone will be content to just let it slide unchallenged. And Boris Johnson seemed to go along with that latter tack by steering the US president into reminiscing about his days travelling the railway to and from work while he was a senator. while Biden was quite happy to do his best to skewer the Prime Minister with his totally inaccurate rhetoric on the Northern Ireland Protocol. There we have it, the great United States of America, the land of the shackled press. Maybe we should be labelling the US President Biden the Unquestionable, because no one is allowed to ask him anything. Anyway, what's your opinion on Andrew Neil and the White House press team? Please like and comment below.